At 3:14 a.m., the time clock at Ash Grove Sanatorium logged an employee badge in. The employee had been dead for 6 years. And when I pulled the footage from that hallway, the camera was pointed at an empty corridor. But the motion sensor logged something standing 3 feet in front of me. I want to be clear. I have the printed log. I have the timestamp. What I don't have is an explanation, and by the end of tonight, neither will you. If you're new here, I tell documented first-hand, unexplained cases. No cheap jump scares, just things that happened and were never explained. Subscribe and hit the bell now. A new case drops every week, and you do not want to catch this series halfway through. Quick question. Have you ever had a job where you felt like there were things you weren't supposed to ask about? Comment it below. $22 an hour, night security, must be comfortable with solitude. Red flag number 1. But I needed the money. Ash Grove used to be a psychiatric sanatorium, shut down after malpractice lawsuits. One wing, the East Wing, was sealed. Just don't go there, I was told. No reason given. The first 3 nights were easy money. Then, on night 4, I found something in a file cabinet that made me wish I'd never opened that drawer. A folder with a name scratched out. Scratched so hard the paper had torn. But underneath, still legible. Do not rehire. He never left. I assumed this was about some employee from decades ago, but the date on that note? 2 weeks old. Someone had written this recently. I called my supervisor. His answer came too fast, like he already knew I'd be calling. System glitch, ignore it. I asked what the R in the badge ID stood for. The line went dead. And 2 minutes later, my phone rang again. Same number. I answered. It wasn't static this time. It was a voice. And it already knew exactly what I'd just found in that file cabinet. I hung up. Sat in silence for a full minute. Then I did the one thing every horror story idiot does. I went back to check the security log. 1:04 a.m. Same timestamp as before. Same badge ID. Except now, a second line had appeared underneath it. One that hadn't been there 5 minutes ago. That second line wasn't a name. It was just 4 numbers. 0448. No name attached. No record, like someone had been erased on purpose. I found an old employee directory in the break room. Robert Dalton, night orderly, 1961 to 1979. A note, clipped to his file, read, Dalton reprimanded again for entering East Wing after final rounds. Patients report a man checking on them who is not on shift. There was no termination date on his file, just a second document. An incident report from 1979. Dalton died alone in that hallway. Cardiac event. Nobody found him until the next morning's rounds. But on the second page of that report, faintly underneath Dalton's name, a second employee ID had been crossed out. ID 0448. The exact number I'd just seen on my screen. 2 IDs. 1 dead orderly. And 1 number that, as far as any record shows, never belonged to anyone at all. I couldn't let it go. So I did something I probably shouldn't have. I tracked down a woman named Carol, who'd worked the day shift at Ash Grove back in the 70s, now well into her 80s. She remembered Dalton immediately. Said the staff used to joke that he never really clocked out, always lingering long after his shift ended. But when I mentioned the number 0448, her voice changed completely. She said there was a second orderly hired the same year as Dalton. Quiet, barely spoke to anyone. He worked exactly 9 shifts and then simply never came back. No resignation, no records. The hospital just quietly removed his file like he'd never existed at all. I asked her his name. She said she couldn't remember. Then she said something that stayed with me since. Some of them stop being people once they clock in enough times in that building. I told myself I'd finish my shift and quit quietly. I did not get that chance. Nights 6 through 10 were quiet, too quiet. No flickers, no calls, no new log entries. I almost convinced myself I'd imagined the whole thing. That's exactly when it got worse. 11 nights into that job, I heard a door open that had been sealed for over 40 years. I was 20 feet away. I didn't move. I watched the doorway on the laptop's motion log instead, because some part of me already knew not to look up. The alert triggered exactly as the hinges creaked. Not before, not after. Exactly as it opened, like something on that screen was watching the same door I was. I grabbed my bag. I did not run. I want to be honest about that. I walked fast, and I did not look back once. I sat in my car in that parking lot until sunrise. I called in my resignation the next morning. Nobody asked why. I think they already knew. Here's the part I left out until now. Before I left that night, I went back inside for exactly one thing. My laptop. The screen was already on. I hadn't left it that way. And there was a new entry in the log, time-stamped 10 seconds before I walked back in. Employee ID 0448. Access, parking lot. The exact place I'd been sitting all night. I checked the time against my own badge-out scan. That entry logged 4 seconds after mine. Whatever it was, it clocked out right behind me. I never went back to that building, not once. Not even to get my last paycheck. But 3 months later, I got a message from someone I'd never met. And it had a photo attached. One I still can't explain. The message was from the guard who took my job after me. He asked one question. Had I ever seen employee 0447 on the system? I never answered him. Not because I didn't want to help, because I didn't know how to explain what I actually knew. Months after that, I finally pulled the newspaper archives myself. 1979. 3 more patient deaths in that same wing. All under Dalton's supervision. All ruled natural causes. But there was one more article I almost missed. Buried on an inside page from 1974. 5 years before Dalton died. A brief note about a second orderly being quietly let go after patients reported feeling watched overnight, even on nights he wasn't scheduled to work. No name was printed. Just an employee number listed once, in small type, at the bottom of the article. 0448. The facility quietly shut down 5 years after Dalton died. No public inquiry, no follow-up. Just closed. Last night, while I was actually writing this video, I got an email. No name, just one attachment. A scanned security log. Dated today, one single entry. Employee ID 0448. Access granted. I tried to trace the email back. The address doesn't exist. I called Carol one last time before finishing this script just to ask if she remembered anything else. Her phone number is disconnected now. It was working 2 weeks ago. If this got under your skin, that's exactly the point of this channel. Slow, evidence-based stories with no clean answers. Want the next case the moment it drops? Subscribe now. And if you made it through this whole video, hit like. You've earned it. Last question for you. Do you think Dalton is still checking on people out of guilt? Or was 0448 something else entirely? Something that was there long before Dalton ever was? Tell me your theory below.